On this edition of MSU Today, Bill Beekman, Vice President and Director of Athletics here, and we're excited to welcome to the program head football coach Mel Tucker. So thanks for joining us, Mel.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
So Mel, you've been head coach here since February 12th of last year, and I remember the sequence of events really, really well insofar as I was in the middle of it. And it was so exciting to welcome you, Jojo, your sons, to the Breslin Center that evening of February 12th, and then yet a month later, unbeknownst to you or me or any of us, we were in a completely different, chaotic world. And as I've shared with so many people, although neither of us had any sense of what we were facing, one of the first things I discovered about you is just your extraordinary resilience. At every turn, you just found a way to take the next hill. And so, tell us a little bit about that chaotic first month. I think when we went into stay-at-home mode, I'm not sure you had all your coaches hired, let alone getting to meet all the players.
Yeah, that was you're taking me back down memory lane there, Bill, and it was an extraordinary time. I was, so excited to be here at Michigan State, and I felt honored and privileged to have the opportunity. And as you know, the first order of business when you take over a program is assembling a coaching staff. And so that took up, the lion's share of my time to try to get the best coaches here that we could get, in short order before spring ball. And as other universities were, gearing up for spring ball themselves. And so that was a 24/7 proposition. And as I remember, I was just in the final stages of assembling the staff. It just got the strength coach in place and kind of got everyone under contract. And we were actually going to start spring ball the following Tuesday. And then I remember I was going to make a trip down to, I believe it was Indianapolis for the Big Ten basketball tournament. And I got word that they weren't going to have fans. And then a couple hours later, I got word that Tom and the team was headed back to East Lansing. And at that point, that's when my world changed forever.
Yes, I was driving down to Indianapolis, and I was filling in for President Stanley on a call with university presidents, and I got as far as Fort Wayne, and it became clear that this was not going to happen, and so I never made it to Indy. I turned the car around at Fort Wayne and headed straight back north. But our entire world changed, and so as you went through the that late spring, and obviously we canceled spring football, which I think most people don't appreciate, that the first time you saw your student athletes in pads and actually hitting one another was about a month before our first game. And so the normal period of assessment and work that a coach has to do was turned into a sort of an almost overnight exercise for you. But one of the things that I thought was amazing was how your coaching staff used technology to work with their athletes in the various positions to learn the playbook, to go through the X's and O's, and doing all of that online over the course of the summer.
Yeah, our staff did a great job, just adapting quickly to the situation. I mean, I think we got word on a Thursday. I think on Friday I sent everyone home and said that we're going to be working from home for a while, and get with the IT guys, get packed up and get your laptops and whatever you need to work from home. and then we started talking to our academic folks, and what are our players going to do, and they started mentioning something called Zoom. And they said that the professors on campus were using Zoom, and they recommended that we do the same. And so obviously we're all saying what the heck is Zoom? Never heard of that. And so that was our first challenge, to figure out how to use Zoom to communicate with our players, have team meetings, have unit meetings, individual meetings, figuring out how to put a background on the Zoom, Zoom etiquette, lighting, all the mute, all of those deals, and it was fun. We recognized right away that was going to be our most daunting challenge, is how do we connect with our players when we're a new staff. All the players have been sent back to their permanent homes, and they don't know us and we don't know them, and so just to get to know, take out the X and O's, just to introduce yourself and just get to know each other as people, was done completely over Zoom and FaceTime and phone calls and texts. And then also, we needed to install, our playbook on offense, defense, and special teams. And so we did that through Zoom, and our coaches became very creative in how to incorporate chalkboards and telestrating and unit meetings with guys, at various places in the country. And it was just fascinating how quickly the players and the coaching staff adapted. And now you look, Zoom is like walking a dog now. It's it's like riding a bike. It's just normal. But at that time it was not. And there was a learning curve. Some of the learning curve for some of our coaches was steeper than some of the others.
Yeah, I can sympathize with those for whom it was steep. Nobody's gonna call me a technology guru, and I feel like Zoom is ubiquitous in our lives, and it's sort of everywhere, and I feel like I've got the hang of it. But yeah, it was a rocky road at the start. So you've you started your early coaching career as a graduate assistant at MSU back in 1997. So now going on 24 years ago. What when you think about what it was like back then, in the football program, what's or across campus, what's changed? What's the same? What were some of the things that you've noticed as you've been back on campus?
Yeah, those were great memories. I remember I felt so fortunate to have the opportunity that Coach Saban gave me to come here and start my coaching career at a great university with a football tradition just huge. Football is so important here at Michigan State. And so, when I got here, my focus was, what do I need to do to make Nick Saban happy? That was my goal every day. How can I what do I have to do to get the job done? What does he need done? What do the coaches need done? And so my focus and my world was very, very small. It was pretty much the Duffy building. And I think I shared a townhouse with a couple of graduate assistant athletic trainers somewhere off campus, where I slept occasionally. But it was I really didn't get to know a lot of the campus at that point. It was pretty much the Duffy, the Kellogg Center for pregame meals and things like that in the stadium, and that was about it for me. And so when I came back in February, this past February, I got a chance to see more, a broader scope of the university, and I became even more excited and I saw some of the changes, like the 1855 building, where your office is. I mean, that was that wasn't part of the campus landscape at that point, and so I just saw a lot of changes, and then and even some of the things in the stadium, the new stadium locker room, that whole deal, and then some of the changes here at the Scandalaris Center. It was I just really felt like I was walking into a great situation where Michigan State had been progressive over the past 20 plus years and had continued to move forward.
Yeah, no, that North End Zone project is one area where I think we went from having maybe not the worst game day locker room, but definitely in the bottom handful to something that I think anybody could be proud of. And we treat our visitors very, very well there, and have nice space for our team as well. But yeah, there have been a lot of changes, and I imagine working for Coach Saban was a pretty unique experience. But obviously, you've done it several times over the course of your career, and it paid dividends. When our team started knowing that Coach D'Antonio was retiring, started making phone calls. Of course, one of the first people that we called was Coach Saban to get his advice, and I think people should know that he's got a huge part of his heart is green and white, and I think always will be. And he had nothing but wonderful things to say about you. So it is one of those life lessons of what goes around comes around, and hard work pays off, because certainly you've made a great friend in Coach Saban. So when you as you coached across the country, and mentioning Coach Saban, who are the people over your career that have been those mentors that have helped structure how you think about football, how you think about people? And I think sometimes we get distracted in football and coaching as a set of X's and O's, but as you said, one of your first tasks really was just getting to know your players and creating those relationships that I've come to see as really as critical as anything.
Yes, there's no doubt. I mean, I had some great mentors over the years, starting with, I had great high school teachers and coaches, and then I was very fortunate. I got the opportunity to play at the University of Wisconsin. I was in Coach Alvarez's first recruiting class in 1990, and he had just won a national championship with Lou Holtz in Notre Dame as their defensive coordinator, and I was in his first class, and we were 1-10 my freshman year, and then we were 5-6, and then the next year 5-6, and then the fourth year, Rose Bowl champs, and so that was a great experience for me to be able to see a Coach Alvarez come in with his first head coaching job and literally lay the foundation culturally in Madison and build a championship program in 4 years. And so that had a huge left a huge impression on me and was an invaluable experience. Obviously, Nick Saban is a mentor of mine. He really laid the foundation for me in terms of my coaching philosophy, especially defensively, and also recruiting, and having worked with Coach Saban or for Coach Saban in 3 different places, here, LSU, and Alabama. He certainly taught me a lot, and I was like a sponge around him. Jim Trussell at Ohio State he was just very influential in terms of how I really saw my role as a coach. I left LSU. I went to Ohio State. And obviously Coach Trustwell won 4 national championships at Youngstown State. He's a Clevelander like myself. His dad was a Hall of Fame coach at Division III national champion. And, he preached to our coaching staff at Ohio State that we were servants of the community, that we needed to be servant leaders, and our task and our obligation was to serve the university and the greater university community and all of the high school, the Ohio high school coaches, and all of the alumni around the country, and we were there to serve them, and not just coach ball and work with our players. And so that concept of servant leadership it really has stuck with me, and he really led by example in that regard. And then in the NFL, I left Ohio State and I went to the NFL with Romeo Crennel as his secondary coach. He had just won a Super Bowl with Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots. It was an opportunity for me to coach him in my hometown Brownies, learn a 3-4 defense and learn more about the Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, that whole culture and that philosophy of building programs and winning and things like that. And so he taught me a lot of lessons about coaching in the National Football League, and there is a difference. And he took me under his wing, and he actually, after my 3rd season there, he actually made me the defensive coordinator with the Cleveland Browns. I was the youngest defensive coordinator in the history of the franchise. I think I beat Marty Schottenheimer out by a couple of months there. And so those are the coaches that really have the greatest impact on me, especially as a young coach.
So you mentioned the and you've had great success and great experience both at the college and professional level, and you mentioned that coaching at those levels is different. There are some obvious differences, like recruiting in college is obviously something that isn't done at the pro level. But what are some of the differences that people might be surprised or might not appreciate?
Well, there's in the NFL, it's all business. It's totally business, and those players, that's their livelihood. That's how they feed their families, and so when you're coaching an NFL player, they don't have any use for you if they don't believe that you know what you're doing. If all they want to know is, can this coach help me stay in the league? Can he help me in any way provide for my family? And so, and you have to, and they make those NFL players, they make those assessments very quickly. And so you have to, in short order, gain the trust of your players and prove to them that you are an asset and that you can help them in their career. You can help them make the team, stay on the team, help them get to their next contract, help them make as much money as they can while they can. And so, there's a lot less players. There's only 53 guys on the roster. And so a lot of individual conversations, coaching. You got to do a lot of listening. When you're coaching NFL players, especially veteran players. But one of the things that's very similar is that at the end of the day, it's still football, and there's fundamentals of the game that, whether it's whether it's Pop Warner, high school, college, or pro, that they don't change. And so it's really what it comes down to is the challenge is how do you teach and coach and emphasize technique and fundamentals and the team concept in an environment where the tendency is every man for himself, and so many guys have had enough success in their career where what they do know already has worked for them. So if there's anything that you want to do differently, or that you think that you can help in any way, then you better be a good salesman, and because if not, they're not going to listen to you.
No, that does seem to be a unique issue with college coaches that go to the pros. It's a very different way of working with people, and you see some people very successful, but others really struggle. On the college side, could you share a little bit about your philosophy in recruiting? And we're right in the sort of in the middle end of that cycle for this year, and how do you what are you looking for? How do you make those assessments and work with your staff to figure out who you want to make the next Spartan?
Yeah, that's a great question. Recruiting is the lifeblood of your organization. Good players make you a good coach. Great players make you a great coach. And when it comes down to it, when you look at the best teams year in and year out, they usually have the best players and usually the most draft picks. So, the purpose of recruiting is to improve your team. And it's very similar to the National Football League. The purpose of the draft and the free agency is to improve your team. And you always have to ask yourself, is this player better than this player that's already on your roster? And you have to make that, can this student athlete make us better? And then you also have to have a great understanding of who are the best teams in your conference. Who do you have to beat, and who are the best teams in the country? You have to ask yourself, if we recruit and sign this player, can he help us beat those programs? And if the answer is no, then you should not be pursuing that student athlete. If the answer is yes, then you should anticipate being in a dogfight, so to speak, for that player. Because if he can help you beat the best teams in your league and the best teams in the country, and he's going to make your team better, then he's probably one of the more highly recruited players in the country. And so our philosophy is that you have to recruit every day, making sure that the player is a good fit, and you're not just collecting players, but you have to build a team. And so character is important. Academic standing is extremely important. We want guys that want to graduate from Michigan State and have the ability to do that. But we also want players that want to buy into something that's bigger than themselves. They're all highly recruited players that have individual aspirations. Athletically, they all want to go to the NFL. But we want guys that want to that believe in the concept of team and being unselfish. And pouring into the team and understanding when the better the team does, the better they do individually. And so it's not just an athletic evaluation. It's also we're also doing our best to evaluate some of the intangibles, the things you can't see on tape, character, unselfishness, teamwork, things like that, discipline, maturity, and but it's an inexact science, but we try to we try to make it. We try to put, we lay out the standards, we communicate the standards to the coaching staff, so we all know what we're looking for. And at the end of the day, I have the final say if we're going to, bring sign a player to our team. It really, the buck stops with me.
So we're coming off a season with some really great wins against nationally ranked opponents. A strong Northwestern team, and of course a huge win in Ann Arbor against the Wolverines, and very strong recruiting since then. So, what excites you most about seeing the guys back in action in really just a month and a half or so as they'll get into spring football?
Yeah, this is one of the more exciting times of the calendar year. Our players are back. We've been able to, evaluate our guys that are returning, and we know, what they can do, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are. And the guys that are back are guys that want to be here, and we want to be here. They bought into our culture. They understand the expectations and the standards, and, they're ready to work. And so, and I like to coin this time of year as the out of season. I believe there's an in season and an out of season. There's never an off season, because football is a year-round sport now, and so recruiting never stops. Really the training, never really stops, and so in this out of season time, it's time for our coaching staff to do scheme evaluation, self-scout, and look for new ideas, look for things that we know can help our players. It's also a time for us to indoctrinate our mid-year enrollees, our high school players, and our transfers. We had 10 total, 9 scholarship and 1 walk-on. And so the onboarding of those student athletes to our culture is critical. And then our Spartan training program, STP, started today. So we'll have 8 weeks of training in our weight room with our strength and conditioning staff. Coach Novak, he has a great staff, and I told him that I wanted this to be the most rigorous, demanding, out of season training program in the history of sport. And he guaranteed that it would be that. And so we're going to have 8 weeks of strength conditioning that will prepare us for spring ball. I truly believe that your team is built in the weight room. You want your team to first and foremost be best conditioned, and fatigue makes cowards of us all. And so the toughness of your team, the competitive nature, the sense of urgency, attention to detail, grit, determination, straining, overcoming adversity, handling adversity, all of those things really start in your weight room, and so that's what's exciting about this time of year.
Great. We've been joined today by Michigan State University head football coach Mel Tucker. And Mel, I always like to end with a maybe a little bit of an offbeat question or two. So let me ask you two questions. First, during your pro career, what was the toughest stadium to play in? Where were the fans the rowdiest and the nastiest?
Oh boy, I'll tell you what. In the NFL coaching, there's some places that they really make it tough. Going to Seattle is probably the loudest, and they've got a DJ there, and I swear they pipe music in there. And I can remember coaching a preseason game there, and my ears were ringing for days, and you literally could not hear anything on the headset and that was just a preseason. I can't imagine what that would be like during the regular season or playoffs. That's extremely loud. When I was in Cleveland, obviously the rivalry with the Pittsburgh Steelers is a huge. The terrible towel deal. They were pretty good at that point, and that was a tough environment. When I was with the Bears, obviously Green Bay is a huge game, and coaching and playing at Green Bay it seems very similar to it's like a college atmosphere, with the tailgating and the fans and just how loud they are and how the passion they have for their team is it's incredible. It's an experience I think that everyone should have, is to be able to take in a game in that type of environment. So those are some of the loudest, most raucous venues that I've coached in.
And so our last question: what's your favorite thing to have for dinner?
My favorite thing for dinner would be lamb chops with mint jelly and a healthy portion of asparagus there, and maybe a mashed potato there with a little butter and some pepper sprinkled on. That would be ideal for me. If I need to get my weight down a little bit, then I would swap out the lamb chops for more of a sea bass or a snapper or a grouper entree.
Very good. Well, that's Mel Tucker, Michigan State's head football coach. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll look forward to an exciting season this year.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Go Green.
Go White.